Hello class, and welcome to this Home Alone 2 NES walkthrough, right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and happy holidays class. This is our final class of the year. We hope you're having a good holiday with your family, your friends, whoever you're celebrating with. And had to cover a holiday-themed game. This was a request actually recently. This is loosely based on the film of the same name, the sequel to the massive holiday hit from 1990. This is 1992's Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. In terms of difficulty, Home Alone 2 is decently challenging, mostly due to its poor game design for the most part. If you've played this game before, if you're going to play it along with this class, then you'll probably feel like the controls of the gameplay is reminiscent of another challenging game which we've covered here on this channel recently. Fluff's going to talk about that, but in terms of difficulty, I'm going to give Home Alone 2 a 6 out of 10. On the frustration scale, this equates to biting down and throwing your controller across the room, having a holiday meltdown. But don't worry, we have the tips and tricks to help you succeed in this game. Blaze has your item guide, Gary has your boss beaters, and Fluff has a number of interesting facts to share with us. So let's run the intro and get into this Home Alone 2 NES walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. Alright, as we start a new game, we get some context as to what's going on here at the start of Home Alone 2. There's Tim Curry, not a badly animated Tim Curry actually. They did him better than they did some of the other actors these images are meant to be based on. Yes, Tim Curry is the concierge. If you watch the credits of the film, actually he's credited as the concierge, even though the character has a proper name, surname, and everything. They just call him the concierge. I like this intro though, because if you have no context of the film, it seems like maybe we're trying to catch the vagrant who's stolen a credit card. We're thinking, oh no, someone stole a credit card, that's bad. Maybe we'll be tracking them down as Tim Curry. Incidentally, I would play that game, and incidentally again, I feel like that might have been substantially better than this game that we got right here. This is probably my favorite sprite animation right here. The Marv expression on his face is just... it's just fantastic. If we had more time, we would do a Let's Meme It with that. Feel free to insert your own in the comments, class. Be curious to see what you can come up with, but let's take a look at the controls while we're getting a needless amount of exposition right here, but main thing is the D-pad for the slide. Hold down while you're moving around, but yeah, just shoot with B, jump with A, nothing special there. But take a look at the Briggs notes, the keys for this Home Alone 2 NES walkthrough. Get and protect the bell item, Blaze will talk about that. Stock up on darts, we'll talk about that. And know which enemies can be defeated with which weapons and slides. Certain enemies can only be defeated with certain weapons. Some can't be defeated, so we'll get into that as the game progresses. Just what kid wants to go through all this? Obviously we can click through this if we want, but... Alright, we're about to get into it, so we're going to start fast here, so move to the right at the start, get down on your knees just at this point to disrespect Tim Curry. He doesn't go any farther than that. Follow him back and jump right here to grab the necklace, or your first necklace. There's a slice of pizza right here. Wouldn't have known that was a slice of pizza. We can slide through the luggage, the possessed, moving on its own luggage. Jump here to get the dart gun, watch out for the vacuum. It'll suck you in, slide underneath that older lady. And then select over to this gun that you see right here. Even though we don't have it, we can select it. Then it'll be queued up and ready for us to shoot that guy. One shot takes him down. We have another necklace here, slice of pizza. Again, Blaze is going to talk about these. We have a little extra spring here so we can avoid the stapler. And we have some extra bounce. We can use this as a trampoline. Just hit A every time you touch down. Grab that, and we're going to go back to our dart gun to stun these guys here. Grab the whole pizza. Go to the right. And slide again through these possessed luggage pieces here. Slide underneath the lady. Run right by the newsstand. That's the hotel's detective. He's trying to capture us. Slide underneath these mops. Doesn't matter if they hit you, as long as you're sliding, you'll be okay. Here we want to basically keep tapping the elevator call right here, which we can only do by jumping up on this kind of ashtray garbage can. Just make sure you know which luggage is coming out of that elevator. If it's one on the ground, then you can get extra taps in, but just be ready to dodge to the left in case one of those comes flying out. And now we're going to hit a bunch of floors at random. A little disconcerting how out of breath Kevin is already. You're supposed to be a healthy 11-year-old boy, 10 or 11 years. But anyway, start fast. When you come off of an elevator, you never know when Tim Curry might be hanging around. The objective on each of these floors is just to get to the end and then go back. You don't have to go into any of these rooms, but there are items in some of them. Watch out for the maids and these bloody pillows they're tossing at you. I guess they haven't turned over the room yet, but seems very unhygienic. As we work our way through these floors, let's go to Blaze for an items overview for Home Alone 2.
Alright, let's talk about the items you will find in Home Alone 2. First, what looks like 4 meatballs is actually and apparently 4 cookies. And just like real life, get 20 cookies or 5 sets of 4, and you will replenish 1 unit of health that you may have lost. Actually, if it were real life, you would probably get a stomachache and or diabetes, but let's move on. Could have fooled me. This is a slice of pizza. Collect 6 of these, you'll get an extra life, or you can just go for the entire pie. Very rare in this game, but pick this up. You'll get yourself an extra life on the spot. You have the bell, which nets you the spin jump ability. This is my item of the game. Lets you take down certain enemies, select enemies, with 1 hit. Not the projectiles, be very aware of that. Still avoid the projectiles, but certain enemies that the professor will point out, you can take them down with your spin jump move. Then we have what looks like some adult-only spirits, I guess is actually aftershave. This gives you better speed, higher jumps, and temporary invincibility just for a certain amount of time. Then we have the candy cane. Also nets you temporary invincibility. Each of these items, I believe, is only in the game once. But there you go. The basic items of Home Alone 2.
Thank you very much, Blaze. So while we get transported to these floors at random, you'll notice we can use the spinning move on virtually every enemy on these floors. Yeah, the order of the floors is always random, but the items that you'll find in the rooms on each of these floors is always the same. So 1425 always has that bell, which is so important, as Blaze mentioned. Let's bring Blaze back in while we're still working through these floors with a weapons overview now. Blaze?
Alright, now let's talk about the weaponry you can find in Home Alone 2. Unlike the Home Alone game we covered last year for the Genesis, we're not making our own guns. Kinda wish we were, because these guns are kinda lame. All of these weapons. First we have the pearl necklace. We could drop one of these to take down certain enemies, not many. In fact, it's not that useful at all, but drop it on the ground. You can trip up a few enemies and take them down. We have the stun gun, very important for later in the game, as Gary will mention, but you can use this to stun enemies temporarily, certain enemies at least. You have the 3 darts, which is ammo for that dart gun. Then you have the hand gun. It's like a hand shooter. Forget what it's called exactly, but it takes down some enemies. You're not going to be using that often. Then we have the super hand launcher, the handgun, which goes through enemies. So the first one just takes down an enemy and stops. It gets embedded in their vital organs. This one goes right through them, hits anyone behind them, which is very rare in this game actually, so not that useful, but there you go, the weaponry of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Thank you, Blaze. I generally like to avoid the rooms with just cookies and pizza and just focus on the weapons in these hotel rooms, but we're going through them all here. Note that you can't use the spin jump on the maid. She'll always get a bloody pillow off on you regardless of her timing, which is annoying, but let's go to Fluff for our first Fluff fact. Happy holidays, Fluff.
Same to you, Professor.
You look extra fluffy today. What's going on?
Yeah, I just got my fur done. How's it look?
It looks great. Yeah, you look good.
Thank you very much. Alright, so between the way the character reacts to your controls, the enemy behavior, heck, even the arc of the once hidden item sailing across the screen upon their reveal, Home Alone 2 sure seems to have a lot in common with another game from Imagineering, which we also did a class on here on this channel, in The Simpsons, Bart vs. the Space Mutants. This appears to have been confirmed when, in 2016, video game developer Frank Cafaldo found the source code of the NES version of this game on an old hard drive and released it, stating that it was indeed based on the licensed Simpsons games for the NES, like the previous year's Bart vs. the Space Mutants. That game was frustrating, but at least it was halfway decent. Critics weren't as kind to Home Alone 2, which was generally and rightfully panned, with gaming magazine Electronic Gaming Monthly in particular giving it the Worst Sequel Award in 1992 and the Worst Game Based on a Movie Award in 1996.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, thanks, Fluff. Why are we so out of breath? Maybe it's our diet of exclusively cookies and pizza. Anyway, whereas the spin jump would have worked on this guy before, we have to shoot him twice in short succession with the flying fist gun, the regular ones, just so you know. Here I like to have the stun gun out, hit him with the dart, and just kind of move with the conveyor belt here. Watch out for his projectiles that he gets off first, but a couple pans lazily falling down. Jump over the meat and slide under the chef. Do the same thing for the next one. And we're coming up on our first boss, so let's throw it to Gary for our first boss beater.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters. Not a lot of bosses in Home Alone 2. First, we have the head chef. Let him come all the way to the right while you pass under him. And once he's in the middle, just keep sliding through him to the right and resetting to the left. Do this 4 times to take him down, at which point it'll just be his hat jumping up and down on the ground. Make sure it's on the ground before you jump on it to take him down. And yes, it is strange that this adult is removing more and more clothing every single time a child touches him.
Not gonna touch that one, but I agree. Thanks, Gary. And jump on the hat. There we go. We get a full pie out of that. And immediately into the arms of Harry Lime. Do you know that was his surname, by the way, Harry Lime? Harry Lime and Marv Merchants. The Sticky Bandits, formerly known as the Wet Bandits. Looks like he's using us in some sort of ventriloquist act right there. I love it. It's still sort of that stock expression on Marv's face right there. There's the talk boy right there. Which became a big selling toy after the film. The one that Kevin had in the film was just a prop, didn't actually work, but then they made an actual talk boy when it came out. But speaking of fun facts, let's go back to Fluff for another one.
While the NES, Game Boy, and Super Nintendo ports of Home Alone 2 are all nearly identical, versions were also released for DOS and the Sega Genesis, which interpret the same film, but otherwise are pretty different. This makes sense given that Imagineering was responsible for all Nintendo versions, whereas Sega themselves made the Genesis version, which, in taking a quick peek at it, looks a lot better than the version we're playing.
Yeah, that wouldn't be hard, thanks, Fluff. That woman seems very unconcerned about Harry and Marv's plans. She's clearly in earshot. And she's looking back, listening to the whole thing. She actually seems like she's into it. Talking about killing a child. Like a vampire fang, kinda. Except maybe a fish. Oh my god, yeah, she's like, well, that kid probably did something nasty. Maybe he's the one that stole the credit card she's thinking she saw. Or the Undertaker. I love Harry's face as well here. That's consistent with the movie right there. Yeah, Kevin grabbing the lady's butt. Tosses her packages in this one. It's you again. What? Without the context of the film, it just seems like Marv has been stalking this woman. Old vampire Marv Merchant. Yeah. Take that, creep. Thanks, lady. You just saved my life. With the shiner. Alright, watch out for the rat at the start of this stage right here. We're going to be moving right to left on this stage. Watch out for the folks who hiding in the bushes and the trees who pop out. We can jump up and climb into these trees to get some power-ups. Nothing better than tree pizza, especially New York tree pizza. I'm glad they nailed the realism of the epidemic that was men hiding in trees and throwing oranges at any child who would be foolish enough to exist in New York City in the early 90s, by the way. There's that candy cane, just start moving right to left as soon as you get it. Can't hurt the enemies, but they can't hurt us either, so. If you just keep moving, this will last us to about midway. Probably just past this rat right here, I think it. There we go. So it's at this point we can jump into the rats or on top of them, slide underneath the bats. You come all the way over here, and it's a dead end. Can't climb this. You might be thinking, what are we doing right here? Come back here, and look, we can climb this one. How about that? Watch out for the bat. Grab a slice from the never-ending pizza brick, a brick some say would simultaneously bankrupt Domino's, Pizza Hut, and Papa John's if only more folks knew about it. They say nobody out-pizzas the Hut, but I think in terms of sheer volume, random brick from Home Alone 2 might have you beat. Actually, the pizza's only eternal until you grab a slice. Such a tease, but... So here we want to basically follow this track right here. There's a few not valuable items to the left and right. Once you get to the top, you can't get back down. But yeah, you think it's doable to get to some of the other areas, but it's very difficult. You'd think they would reward you by putting some more valuable items around there, but no, nothing need to pick up. Not a fan of that game design back there, though, just knowing you could climb that pole, but not the others. As we drop into the sewers here, avoid the birds. You know how there's a lot of birds in the sewers because birds love being underground? Well, that's what's going on here. This game was developed by Imagineering, so maybe the idea was they used their imaginations more than other developers, hence the birds in the sewers, but my argument is, why don't you use your imagination to make us a better game, Imagineering, while we're at it. There's 5 enemies that pop out of the bushes, or bars here to avoid. One last one here. Do the timing, or just do the spin jump to get through them. Very careful stepping. You need to jump on the part which is furthest on the bottom. Here we need to jump right when that weight is atop Marv right there. Harry just keeps running to the left, by the way. Don't make the mistake of trying to spin jump into Harry. The game will just freeze. Not even joking. It'll just freeze, and you can't even, you'll just have to reset at that point. Watch out for the holes. It's an instant death. Except for right here when we want to drop just to the left off of this one to this ledge. It's not super obvious how to get that key. My first, second, and third instinct was that you just have to line up your drop from above to get it. But no, you need to line up your drop above to get to the platform and then get the key, which puts you back at the start, where you can use the key to get to the next floor and knock that over to get Marv stuck in some paint or glue or something, and he just dies. Again, be very careful. We don't want to lose our spin jump here. Here we can trigger Harry to come out and then hit him with a few of these logs. 3 shots. 1, 2, 3. Gets it done for the moment. By the way, don't think that key opens multiple doors in the same building. I mean, if this is following the plot of the film, the entirety of this townhouse belongs to Kevin's Uncle Rob, so why do you need multiple keys to open the many doors of the same townhouse? Or better asked, why does your wife feel it necessary to have a separate key for her part of the building? What's up with that, Uncle Rob? What you doing? Let's go back to Fluff. What do you got?
Here's a fun fact about Home Alone itself. It's incredibly popular in the country of Poland. It's a Christmas tradition that the film is shown on Polish TV channels on Christmas Eve of every year. The film is so popular that in 2010, the Polish channel which owned the rights of the film decided not to show it, and there was an immediate internet protest which was strong and loud enough to bring back the holiday classic with a vengeance, purportedly becoming the most viewed television event of the 2010 holiday season. The Polish title, Kevin Samler Domu, translating to Kevin Alone at Home, was a huge hit since its debut back in 1990. The 80s were the final decade of Poland being heavily influenced and censored by the Soviet Union and a communist rule from within. When the country finally became a democracy following their revolutions of 1989, just about everything American was idealized. To the youth of Poland at the time, there was an extra bit of symbolism in Kevin McAllister being the hero who fought the bad guys and stood up to defend what was right. In other words, the film came out at a very pivotal moment in Polish history, which might account for some subtext as to why the film remains so popular even today. Plus, who doesn't love to see the wet bandits getting theirs?
Thanks, Fluff. Hold left when you're going down the pipe and you can get to this ledge right here, which otherwise you wouldn't be able to hit. Get some useless items, but there's some darts over here if you jump. And then I like to jump right over here to kind of break the game, or this animation at least. Turn Kevin into Guernica, essentially. Move this trash can underneath the rope, set it on fire. That gets Harry out of the way for another second. Marv is going to come from the left. The best place to stay here is kind of the back third of the screen. Gives you more time to react and kind of thread the needle. See, we alternate between small jumps over the rats for this first section and going down to do the slide to stay underneath the bats. At this point, it switches over to these just kind of flying trash can lids, I guess, in the wind or something is the argument. I don't know. Nothing about this game makes sense at this point. Just silly, bad game design. But that's fine. You can generally jump over them. Sometimes you need to thread the needle. The pattern isn't always the same. At this point, move up. When you see the save come down, move to the right to start climbing the tree. Now we want to switch to our dart gun. Assuming you've followed our Briggs notes, you've stocked up on and should have about 30 of these at this stage in the game. We can use this to stun Harry right here as he gets a hit on us finally, or a couple hits. Get into a bad pattern right here if you're not careful. So we're just going to keep climbing the tree. And then we're at the final boss right here with Harry and Marv. Gary, take us home.
Boss beaters.
All right, I said there wasn't a lot of bosses. The final boss, Harry and Marv, you want to lure each sticky bandit right in front of you on that top branch. Once they're right up in your face, use that dart gun to freeze them in place right in front of you. And then press up. When the pigeon lady is right above you, she'll drop bird seed on the sticky bandit. Do this 3 times for each sticky bandit, and you will have beaten Home Alone 2. Congratulations.
All right, good luck, Gary. Thank you very much. Just there for the bookends, that first stage and here at the end. Thank you, Pigeon Lady. My God, is that supposed to be John Hurt on the left? Looks more like Tim Robbins mixed with just generic stepdad. That's not a bad Catherine O'Hara on the right. Oh my God, I buried the lead. Look at us. We didn't get hit that many times. What happened to us there? Oh, Kevin. Sport, have you got something against spending Christmas with your family? Don't go off the script. Come on now, John Hughes wrote a great script for that movie. Don't ad-lib Imagineering, come on now. No. Ugh. Very awkward family photo right there, and we just look possessed right there. Better than how we looked a second ago, I suppose. There's just that default Marv sprite animation right there. I don't mind this. We didn't get to pick back up with the sticky bandits at the end of Home Alone 2. It's too bad. I understand. At least we get a turkey dinner. I understand they were going to make a Home Alone 3 shortly after Home Alone 2 with a teenage Kevin McAllister, but Macaulay Culkin had retired from acting at that point. So we got the dumpster fire that was the Home Alone 3, the standalone one, where he's battling international thieves or something like that. I don't know, it's really stupid, but I digress. Thank you so much for spending part of your holiday with us. Please subscribe if you haven't already to enroll in this class. We do one of these classes every single week. We'd love to have you aboard. And click that like button if you don't mind. Really does help us out. Leave a comment. Did you ever play this one? If so, did you like it more than me? Were you more forgiving than we are here at Video Games 101? But that's our time for this week. Happy holidays one last time. We'll see you next week in the same spot for next week's class. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.